From fancy cars to luxury mansions, from weird hobbies to watch collections worth over six figures, these are stupidly expensive things WWE wrestlers own. When it comes to blowing stupid money on cars, everybody talks about NBA players and soccer players. But WWE wrestlers have quietly been doing the same thing for years. Just look at Seth Rollins. Rollins already looked like a rock star in the ring with his iconic drip and the entrance music, but once he started making real main event level money, he decided his garage needed to match his character. So the visionary went out and copped a Lamborghini Aventador S Roadster, and this thing wasn't cheap at all. We're talking $460,200 for a car with a 6.5-liter V12 engine under the hood that can hit 100 miles an hour in 3 seconds flat. Top speed on this thing is 217, so basically Rollins can outrun anybody trying to catch him after he cashes in a money-in-the-bank briefcase. Now, $460,000 on one car sounds insane until you realize that's just where the game starts, because John Cena's car collection is on a whole different level. Because while Rollins got one car, Cena's been collecting them since he was 14 years old and never stopped. Cena's not really about flashy exotic brands. He's an old-school muscle car guy at heart, so his collection looks more like a classic car museum than a dealership. He's got a 1970 Plymouth Superbird Roadrunner worth around $250,000 just because it's rare and in mint condition. He's also got two different Ford GTs, a 2006 model and a 2017, with the newer one alone worth close to $500,000. On top of that, he's got a 1966 Dodge Hemi Charger, a Lamborghini Murcielago, and a customized Chevy Corvette ZR1. But none of Cena's cars are crazier than the one he built himself, because Cena took a wrecked Corvette chassis to a shop called Parker Brothers Concepts and told them to make it look like something out of the year 3000, and they didn't disappoint. What came out was the Incinerator, a car with a canopy roof that opens up so you gotta climb in through the glass, and 8 pipes on the back that don't just look like exhaust, they're actual flamethrowers that shoot fire on command. Cena eventually sold this thing for $427,000, and honestly that might be a bargain because his entire car collection is estimated to be worth several $1,000,000 altogether. But as much as Cena loves his muscle cars, there's one WWE superstar who decided cars weren't even worth the investment, he'd rather just buy the ground underneath them. And that's Brock Lesnar, because while everybody else in WWE was out here blowing millions on Lambos and customized flamethrower Corvettes, Lesnar looked at all that and took a completely different route. Lesnar grew up dirt poor on a farm in Minnesota, and even after he became one of the highest paid guys in both WWE and UFC history, he never really shook that country boy mentality. So instead of flexing on Instagram with exotic cars, he started doing something way smarter. He started buying land. Now this didn't happen overnight. Lesnar was up in Saskatchewan hunting one day and stumbled across a farm that was for sale, so he just bought it. And once he had one piece of land, he couldn't stop. He told Pat McAfee he just kept buying more and more acres, because unlike stocks and bonds, land isn't going anywhere and it's not crashing on him overnight. His current property out in Merrifield, Saskatchewan alone is worth over $2.1 million. And before that, he had a 43-acre ranch out in Maple Plain, Minnesota that he bought back in 2003 for $783,500, complete with woods, farmable fields, a private pond, a heated pole barn, and even a hot tub deck to relax on after a fight. He ended up selling that property in 2014. And by then, he'd already built out his car game too, though true to Lesnar fashion, it's nowhere near as flashy as the rest of the roster. He's got a 1978 Dodge Power Wagon, a Jeep Wrangler, a Chevy Suburban Premier, a Ram 1500 TRX, and a Cadillac Escalade, a collection worth around $295,000 total. But if Lesnar's the guy who kept it humble, The Rock is the exact opposite, because Dwayne Johnson didn't just buy one nice house, he basically built himself a real estate empire. Back in the Attitude Era, The Rock was one of the most popular stars in the entire company. But once the Brahma Bull left WWE and went to Hollywood full-time, his net worth exploded, and so did his collection of luxury items. Back in 2019, he picked up a 45-acre equestrian estate outside Atlanta, Georgia, a French provincial-style mega mansion over 14,000 square feet with 8 bedrooms, a 12-stall horse barn, a riding arena, and 5 stone fireplaces. And he paid over $9 million for that property alone. But that was just one stop on The Rock's real estate tour, because he's also had a Cape Cod-style mansion in Miami with direct ocean access, an equestrian ranch out in Southwest Ranches, Florida, and in 2021, he added a 46-acre horse farm out in the Virginia mountains worth over $12 million where he goes to fish and get away from Hollywood. And on top of all that, he's got a massive estate out in Beverly Hills that's been valued anywhere from $27 million all the way up to nearly $28 million after renovations, sitting on almost 4 acres with over 17,000 square feet of space. So yeah, add it all up and you're looking at over $100 million worth of property just for one guy and his family to sleep in. But The Rock's garage is just as stacked as his real estate portfolio, because this man's driven basically every exotic car brand that exists. He's got a white Ferrari, a Rolls-Royce Wraith, a McLaren 650S, a Ford GT, and even a Pagani Huayra. That alone is worth over $1 million. Plus, a customized 1971 Chevy SS that actually got featured in Fast and Furious 7. And honestly, that checks out, because between the movies and the WWE run, The Rock's basically been the biggest action star on the planet for over a decade, so of course his garage looks like a car show. But while The Rock was building his portfolio in front of the world, another Bloodline member was quietly building out his own collection while main eventing WrestleMania multiple times. Unlike The Rock, Roman Reigns doesn't really go for the loud, flashy stuff. He's more of an SUV guy through and through. His most expensive ride is a Land Rover Range Rover Autobiography worth $140,000, powered by a twin-turbocharged V8 that puts out 510 horsepower and can hit 155 miles an hour, which makes sense for a guy who's spent years being called the big dog. But that's not the only truck in his garage, because Reigns also owns a Mercedes-Benz V-Class worth $65,000, a Cadillac Escalade worth $88,000, and a Mercedes-Benz GLS class worth $99,000, which puts his total car collection somewhere close to $400,000. Now that might sound small next to Rollins's single $460,000 Lambo, but Reigns has never really been about one flashy purchase. He's been about steady, consistent wealth building the entire time he's been WWE's top guy. And that shows in his real estate too, because he's got a home out in Tampa, Florida worth over $2.4 million, and reports say he's also invested in property out in Hawaii close to $3 million worth, on top of putting money into his own private investments valued around $2.2 million. So while Reigns doesn't buy the wildest cars in the locker room, he's quietly built himself a financial empire that's grown by over 20% year after year, and with a WWE salary reportedly around $5 million on top of endorsements from brands like C4 Energy, the Tribal Chief's net worth has climbed close to $25 million. But cars and mansions are one thing. Some of these WWE stars collect stuff way weirder than that. Take Rey Mysterio, for example, because outside the ring, the master of the 619 is apparently a serious sword collector, picking up rare, custom-made blades from all over the world, treating them like actual pieces of art. Then there's Baron Corbin, who's got one of the strangest hobbies in the entire locker room, because Corbin genuinely collects bones and skulls, real ones, animal skulls, taxidermy pieces, the whole deal. And he's talked openly about how much he loves hunting and displaying what he brings home. So instead of a trophy case full of championship belts, Corbin's got a room that looks like it belongs in a natural history museum. And then you've got Matt Cardona, who might have the most expensive hobby out of all of them, because Cardona's obsessed with wrestling action figures. We're talking about a collection so massive and so complete that he's basically turned his house into a museum dedicated to the entire history of the business, with figures dating back decades. Some of them rare enough to be worth serious money on the collector's market. But if you want to talk about pure old school flex, nobody does it like Ric Flair, because the Nature Boy's entire persona was built on looking rich, and that didn't stop once the cameras turned off. Flair's long been known for his taste in high-end watches, rocking pieces that fit the same styling and profiling reputation he built his whole career on. Because to Flair, a watch isn't just a watch, it's a statement. Over his career, Flair's collection has featured multiple gold and iced-out models, such as the Rolex Day-Date President and Datejust. The 16-time world champion has estimated that he has lost or misplaced as many as 40 Rolexes over the decades, including one he accidentally threw into a plate of spaghetti during a wild night in Baltimore. On another occasion, he dropped $50,000 cash in Philadelphia to urgently replace a lost watch before Thanksgiving. But if there was one wrestler who could rival Flair in terms of luxury back in the day, it was Hulk Hogan. Throughout his life, the Hulkster kept flipping mansions along the Gulf Coast, at one point owning a 17,000 square foot Bel Air estate that he originally tried to list for $25 million before eventually selling it for $6.2 million during the housing crash. After that, he moved into a 5,400 square foot waterfront home in Clearwater Beach that he bought back in 2012 for $3.3 million, complete with an elevator, multiple spas, spas and direct Gulf views, and by the time he passed away in July of 2025, that property alone had grown in value to nearly $11 million. On top of the real estate, Hogan also had a taste for British luxury when it came to cars, rocking a Bentley Azure worth over $300,000 and a Bentley Continental GT Coupe worth over $200,000. But while Hogan was the face of the golden era, Stone Cold was the face of the Attitude Era. You see, Austin's never been about mansions and gated communities. He's a ranch guy at his core. His current property, the Broken Skull Ranch 2.0 out in Gardnerville, Nevada, sits on 40 acres and cost him $2.9 million back in 2017, and that came right after he sold off his original Broken Skull Ranch, a massive 2,100-plus acre property out in Texas that he used for hunting, fishing, and filming his show Broken Skull Sessions. On top of the ranch, Austin's also owned property out in Marina del Rey, California, where at one point he and his wife had two side-by-side homes worth a combined several million dollars before selling the compound off in 2021. Now, unlike Hogan, Austin's car game leans more rugged than flashy, sticking to trucks and American muscle that actually match his blue-collar, beer-drinking persona instead of chasing exotic Italian brands. But there's one item in WWE that doesn't belong to any single wrestler. It belongs to whoever's standing tall at the end of the night, and it just so happens to be worth more than most of these guys' cars combined. And that's the WWE Championship belt itself. In 2014, WWE teamed up with Beltology to redesign the championship, and instead of just slapping some gold paint on leather, they went all out. The centerpiece logo alone is encrusted with over 300 genuine diamonds, real ones, not rhinestones, sitting on a leather strap with detailed embossed patterns and side plates that get customized for whoever's holding the title at the time. Altogether, this thing is valued at nearly $500,000. Think about that for a second. Guys like Rollins and Reigns are out here spending hundreds of thousands on cars just to flex. But the actual object they're fighting over every single night is worth more than most of those cars combined. So next time you see somebody walk out of WrestleMania holding that belt over their head, just remember they're not just holding a trophy, they're holding $500,000. And in a business full of guys buying muscle cars and mansions the size of small towns, it's almost fitting that the one thing they're all chasing costs more than the rest of their garage put together. And if you want to find out exactly how WWE Championship belts are made, check out this video next.